Yes, as Donna said, I'm a retired or emeritus physicist. I'm a theoretical physicist. But in any conflict between experimenters and theoreticians in physics, the experimenters come out on top. Because you can disprove a theory by doing an experiment. You can never disprove an experiment by doing it by having a theory. So what I tried to do was sort of give examples of where positive government intervention could make a difference. So I guess my question is, can you give an example where the elimination of government in some situation involving human affairs and voluntarist principles resulted in something, a positive change and a better life for people?
All right, just off the top of my head, the first thing that came to mind was, I can't even remember the decade, but it was deregulation of the airlines. The airlines were controlled by the government. Thanks. And right after that, prices came dramatically down after airlines were allowed to compete between borders. So that's one example. And lower costs, it really does help people. It helps lower class poor people who want to travel to other places or even conduct business by traveling. That's one way that government getting out of the way has helped.
Well, I'd like to add something to that. There's also your question was, when has the government done something, some deregulation that helped? And I think that was the question, correct?
Well, an introduction of voluntarism as eliminating government resulted in a better life.
Well, we got to go back to our premise, and it's just the fact that a coercive government backed by the use of force exists in the first place, and that's inherently bad. So that's why it will always be bad. So any part of deregulation that gets away from coercion and the use of violence, and in coercion, a free market is free. That means it's free from coercion. There's a lack of coercion in the market. A regulated market is what creates coercion, and by identifying that government is coercive in nature and it's backed by the use of force, exposes the gun in the room. You can't deny that gun. You can't deny the fact that that's what government is and that's how it operates. So any amount of deregulation is positive, just in an ethical sense.
And I have one more example. The argument from just what's right and wrong, and the use of coercion is, I think, the stronger argument. But I just thought of another argument just from effect, which may be less powerful. But I have statistics here from Somalia, which shows a lot of improvements after their government collapsed. And I'm not saying that is a model for anything good. But to think of how bad conditions are in all the countries in Africa already, would you think a collapse of theirs, they had a socialist dictatorship, would you think that if you look at the numbers, things would improve or get worse? And I'll lead this in with saying that these numbers come from the UNDP, United Nations Development Program, so I can't personally speak for how good they are, but infant with low birth rate went from 16% down to 0.3%, which is almost nothing. And by the way, the first statistic is from 85 to 90, it's an average between there, and the second one is 2000 to 2005. And there's a 10-year gap in there, and right in the middle, 96 is when the government essentially collapsed. So there's a bunch of statistics here where things improved. A few went down, but some of the more drastic ones that went up, infant mortality rate dropped from 152 per thousand to 114 per thousand. And then so that's like health related. There's a few other health related, but then there's some economic ones. Radios per thousand went from 4 to 98. Telephones per thousand went from 1.9 to 14.9. TVs per thousand went from 1.2 to 3.7. So, that I think is exactly what you're asking me, huh?
Okay.